According to surveys, only about 25% of women will regularly have that big O when they have sex. The remainder will, depend upon, the circumstances of that evening, they're kind of hit and miss, or they never have one ever at all. And there are a lot of women who I have met through my advice work who have never ever had an orgasm. So it's kind of an interesting situation for these ladies. A lot of them experienced, sex-based trauma during their youth, and so they have some issues that they probably need to work out with a therapist about their body and connecting to it in a sexual way. But that's a little bit beyond what we're going to talk about here. This evening, I may address that with the help of a psychologist friend that I have, if I could interview him at some point in the future. But right now, we're talking about the reasons why women fake having the big O when they're in bed. Now, compared to men, more than 90% of men get off 100% of the time. Okay, so compared to them, women are kind of confusing for researchers. They don't really understand the reasons why women respond the way that they do and why women don't always have an orgasm when they have sex. And so because basically, it comes down to me, to two issues. Either it's that the men are selfish with female pleasure and they're focusing on themselves and not on the woman, or they're just really that bad at sex and don't care. It's usually one of those. But we have to look at some studies. We're going to reference a couple of them as we move forward in this video. One study that was done on over 6,000 men and women got some very interesting results, and I want to share those with you. They found that heterosexual women reported having an orgasm a little less than 60% of the time, like, I don't know, 58 point some odd percentage. And it was about the same for bisexual women at 58%. But listen to this. For lesbian women, the orgasm rate shot up to more than 75%. Now, I thought that was pretty interesting, and we'll be looking at the possible reasons why a few minutes from now. So let's talk about the whole basic premise of orgasm, because I think, before we move forward and talk about women faking it, we got to discuss what it is exactly that they're trying to duplicate and make these guys think that they're having. Now, sex researchers, I know you guys have heard of Masters and Johnson. They are the biggest names in the sex research business, and started their whole project in like the late 60s through the 70s, during the free love hippie days when everybody was doing all that kind of stuff. And it was very interesting to read their reports and books because it was written in layman's terms, but it was very clinical. I mean, they had charts and graphs and response rates and survey data, and it was just very, very interesting how they did it. So everything was kind of clinical, but it was very readable. Then there was the breakout book called Our Bodies Ourselves. It was released in 1969, and it was very different because that during that period of time, people still were hiding pornography. I think it was Hustler out then and Playboy or whatever. I don't know. I'm not sure about all that, but as far as actual sex education, that still wasn't in schools. It really wasn't that talked about. But this book had drawings of the close-up drawings of female genitalia, male genitalia. It talked about the whole reproductive system. Had etchings of hand-drawn drawings of the nude male and female body. It was so different from anything that had been previously published on educating people about their bodies. So it enabled a lot of women who had grown up being told that you find a baby behind a cabbage patch or the stork brings it, and just a whole bunch of stupid bullshit that people used to tell their kids versus educating them on facts about their body. So this book taught women about their erogenous zones and their sex organs, and about how to produce an orgasm in themselves. How to touch their male partners, how to touch themselves. It was just a phenomenal book, and it's probably in its like 800th printing now. If you want to grab a copy, you can probably find one at a used bookstore somewhere. Then, to round out this trio, there was a woman named Nancy Friday. She came along in the 80s, I believe, and she did several books on research about women's sexual fantasies. Again, something that had never, ever, ever been addressed. It was like people just thought women were chaste and didn't have such thoughts. So that also hit the book market with it made a big wave in the publishing industry because it again was something that had never, ever, ever been addressed. So as you see, it was over this 30-year period that the information about female sexuality and what women's bodies were really capable of doing and how they were doing it this was new. Okay, this is like most of this happened, in my lifetime. So this is not information that has been publicly available for like generations or anything. This stuff is new. All this freedom of information about women. And so you'll have some older women who, they just haven't gotten this information. They're still living under the old guidelines for what's appropriate for women. And then you have some of the younger women raised by those older women who, even though they may be exposed to videos and TV shows and this and that, they don't have any more actual scientific knowledge than those older women did. So you see where we are here. There's a dilemma and a breakdown in communication about what women's bodies are capable of sexually. So anyway, between those three off publications, whatever research projects that I was telling you about, they basically took female sexuality out of the dark and into mainstream America. I mean, people were talking about on radio shows, on TV shows, at hair salons. I mean, it was just like a shocking big thing. So, female sexuality had finally been validated and explored in a way that could provide millions of women with some accurate, scientific, well-researched information about their bodies and gave them the tools to create a better sexual experience for themselves. So, then let's talk about what an orgasm is. Orgasm is created. How do we explain this? Well, as you get more sexually stimulated, your respiration rate changes, the blood flow will concentrate in the pelvic area of the body. Men will get an erection, women will get like the labia and everything will get engorged with blood, which increases sensitivity to sexual activity. Nipples on women will become erect and the lower part of the vagina will constrict because it gets more filled with blood. So the tissues are more swollen, so it creates a tighter fit and more friction for intercourse. So if everything goes well, like the kids don't bam on the door, the phone doesn't ring, your man don't lose his boner, your mind stays in the thing, then you get these incredible feelings in the nerve endings in that region of the body and in your pelvis, the breasts, the thighs, the buttocks, all of that whole area becomes more sensitive, so that every touch there, it just what's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, it just adds to the experience. It makes it more exciting. So if a woman has enough preparation time and so that all of these different physiological processes can occur, then the tension will build in the pelvic region and build and build and build and build and build until there's like a little explosion, and that's what they used to call the petite death or the orgasm, the climax, whatever. So, and when that happens, your uterus contracts, the vagina muscles contract, the anus muscles contract, and at little, like little intervals, like little waves. And the whole purpose of that is because while all those things are happening, is the male is ideally depositing his semen, those contractions of the uterus and the vaginal walls will squeeze the semen out and suck it up into the uterus so that it can travel to the inside your uterus and fertilize an egg and create a baby. That's what that whole process is designed for. So, these things, and then, people will make like ugly faces, and, if you have a really, really good one, you're going to feel it all through your toes and your back and your head and everything else. Some people report getting headaches when they have an orgasm. I don't know if I would like that part, but, that's just to kind of give you an example of how many different areas of the body are involved when you have a really good orgasm. And that's why some women will get with a guy and they will have that experience. If they've never had that before, they will lose their goddamn minds. They want to chase that man around. He could go to Mars and they're going to figure out how to jack a spaceship so they can follow his ass. Okay, so that's the whole thing. That's what women are chasing, and then if they don't get it, that's what they will fake. So let's move on to part 2. Why don't women have orgasms? Now, the scientists, the surveys I was talking about, they aren't sure. And my response is there's no one reason. There's no one reason, but I have a bunch of reasons that I'm going to tell you that I think it doesn't happen. And because really, like, for a woman to relax and have an orgasm, she has to be relaxed, and she has to be in tune with her body, and she has to be comfortable, and she has to feel safe, and she has to feel, the guy has to know what he's doing. So if you put all those things together, a lot of times one or more of those ingredients is missing, and so it doesn't happen. But let's talk about some of these reasons that a woman might not have an orgasm during sex. 1, she has a lot of anxiety about her body. She's gained weight. Maybe she just, she's concerned about the fat rolls that she has. She is getting cellulite all of a sudden or something, whatever. Maybe she was nursing her baby and now her breasts have changed and she's feeling self-conscious. There's all kind of reasons why women will feel uncomfortable with the way that their body looks and not feel super sexy. And that could affect their ability to relax and have an orgasm with their lover. Number 2, bodily changes from illness, from aging, or childbirth. Those are very common. Number 3, certain medications that people take for pain and for depression will also negatively impact one's ability to reach orgasm. It's like actually on the package inserts, if you read them, there's a side effects. Number 4, being stressed out, worrying about something. It's like you can't relax, you're a nervous wreck. 5, you could just be totally exhausted and just not really into it. Number 6, feeling guilty because you're doing something you shouldn't be doing. You're fornicating, you're committing adultery, you're doing some shit you shouldn't have been doing, and so you feel guilty. Excuse me. Number 7, you're afraid of getting pregnant. That, will send a woman straight into tension world. Number 8, fear of the partner. Now, it might be somebody somebody you're dating. They call these situations date rape. And a lot of times, it's not like they hit you or threaten you with a knife, but they give you drugs. They put you in a situation where you pretty much feel like you have to have the sex that they're asking you for in order to get out. That's called coercion. You don't want to do it, but you're too afraid to not do it because of the situation that you're in. It's very unlikely that one would have an orgasm in a situation like that. Number 9, it's an uncomfortable setting where you're distracted and you can't relax. Some people like to do this stuff where they're outdoors or in a car or whatever, and there's people you might get caught, or you in your house in a spot where the kids could see you or something, and you're trying to hurry up, do a quickie or whatever. That usually works for the guy, but not necessarily for the woman. Drug and alcohol use is a big one, because alcohol is actually a depressant. One drink you might be all right, but after that it kind of acts it deadens your nerves. Number 11, you can't stand the man that you're doing it with and are just doing it with him out of a sense of obligation or duty. This is common in a situation where a couple have been fighting and maybe they're about to separate or divorce or break up, and the woman feels like he's horny. It's her job as his woman to make sure that he's satisfied, but that don't mean she's into it, and that don't mean she really want him touching her. Painful intercourse. This could be a case where you just had, women who are perimenopausal or menopausal, and the vaginal walls are thinner than they used to be, or where someone has had a baby, and they haven't quite finished healing yet. Number 13, not enough foreplay. A lot of guys don't give women enough warm-up time. They don't realize, she can't just change gears on a dime like you do. She just put the kids to bed. She's thinking about making them lunches and what she got to do to get them all laid out and ready for school the next morning, and you trying to be all amorous. Well, she might make a few minutes, to make sure that you're taken care of too in her busy schedule. But I mean, is she going to really have the time to switch gears, wind down from all these tasks that she's got to do, and warm up enough to really enjoy the sexual experience to the point where she has an orgasm with you? A lot of guys don't understand this. They don't give the woman enough time, or they don't want to put the effort in. So instead of waiting for her to naturally make the lubrication that her body is designed to do, they just squeeze some shit out of a jar or a tube and go on with their dick, doing whatever they want to do. Well, of course, she's not. That's not. Her body's not ready. She's not at that point where that's going to happen for her. Another point is that sometimes it's just over too quick. Some dudes really have a problem. I mean, 3 to 5 minutes, that's about all they can handle. And I found this 2014 study that reported that heterosexual sexual encounters usually average somewhere between the 15 and 30-minute range. Lesbian encounters were 30 to 60-minute ranges. So you see that correlation. The 75% orgasm rate correlated with this 30 to 60-minute session. So the women were giving more time to get, their passion levels up and their bodies prepared for sexual activities. Whereas with the dudes, they give you like 5 minutes and then they want to screw for 10 and then it's over. Your body hasn't even gotten a chance to really get involved, really involved in the sexual experience. And then number 15, the last one I have on my list, dude's just a poor lover. I mean, you want to laugh in his face and you want to get up, but for whatever reason, you're too polite, you don't want to hurt your man's feelings, whatever. And it just wasn't working. Another one that is on my personal list is dudes that do a running narrative, like they are asses of Walter Cronkite or some shit, just talking. Yeah, baby, you like this? What about this? Yeah. See all that shit? That shit is just ridiculous. Shut up. Stop fucking talking. I'm trying to concentrate here. And they distract you with all those stupid ass words. Then there's dudes who, don't know what the fuck they doing. I mean, they just like moving around and, all off beat and just strokes are all toe up. And shit just makes you mad. Are the ones, like I said, where it's, over as soon as it starts. So those are all under the poor lover category. And those 15 reasons there will definitely contribute to a woman's failure to get the big O. So let's talk about why women fake it. What are some of the reasons why a woman will fake it with her man? Well, there's lots of reasons. A study I read on the faking issue said that 25% of women fake every single time they have sex, with of the other women doing it occasionally. Very few women have never, ever, ever faked. Very few. They've all done at least once. I'll read you some of the reasons in a minute. But this is how bad this situation is. And it just makes you think, damn, are dudes really that lackluster in the sack? That is terrible. But the bottom line is there's a lot of reasons why women do it. And most of it has to do with our socialization. Because women have been trained to feel responsible for men's egos as far as their sexual prowess goes. So guys, just think about the stuff we've been talking about the past few weeks. They want to blame you for them being single. They want to blame you for them being lonely. They want to blame you for them not having the ability to father somebody, even though they all fucked up in the head, don't need to be nobody's daddy no time in the next 5 generations. In men can't even feel like men unless a woman is somewhere in the picture. So it's the kind of thing like, even the ones talking about, well, we're going to stay away from women and just do their own thing. Women are still in the picture because you're making it a conscious effort to stay away from women. So you're still fixated on women. You don't even get it. That's why I laugh in their faces when they start talking all that going their own way shit. Please. So when you look at this, though, just think about the pressure that women have. The pressure we have on us to embrace what the feminists call male-centered sexuality. Because it is. I mean, when you really think about it, men get glorified for the things that they do, whereas women get slut-shamed. and talked and called hoes and sluts and all this old stuff for doing the same thing, like for trying to enjoy their sexual experiences. The freedom that men have to do that, women have to fight for it and be called names for it. And black folks are no different, especially them churchy ones. They are to sit up there and be the most judgmental ever in the world, knowing they was a hoe 2 weeks ago. But now they so special and fucking saved, and now they want to act like, butter would melt in their mouth. I'm like, please, you need to go somewhere and sit down and shut up with that shit. So, this whole thing, the black culture, basically, the whole religious thing, everything that has to do with women and keeping women down. It also, a cornerstone of that is repressing female sexuality, so that women and girls believe that they must submit their desires, their egos, and everything else to men for men's pleasure. And that's really kind of messed up. And, the belief is that, women are somehow second-class citizens and don't have the same rights and freedoms and desires and don't deserve the same fulfillment and rewards that men do. And this is really bad when it comes to sexuality, because, if you have a situation where only one person that's laying there is guaranteed to have a good time, what's the woman's point? And what the fuck would she go do that for if she's not going to get nothing out of it? And then y'all wonder why women don't want to fuck you. Hello? This seemed like kind of a duh to me. So all of that stuff, anyway, to make a long story short, would contribute to a woman's, her programming that she has to fake her pleasure in order to avoid damaging a man somehow. Okay. And so, those were my thoughts. So what I did was I put up a poll on my Facebook page. A lot of very interesting, mature women there, young and some, more mature ladies. And I said, okay, let's talk about this, you guys. What are some of the reasons that you, may have in the past or just yesterday, faked it with a dude? And in general, these were the top responses. Top 10. Number 1. Some men demand that you orgasm and that there is an extreme amount of pressure to perform. Why am I coughing? Like a trained seal or some shit. So the woman goes into a When Harry Met Sally type of instant replay fake orgasm. You guys remember that scene? Well, if you don't, I have the sound clip. And let me just put that in, drop that in here right here.
Oh. Are you okay? Oh. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh. I'll have what she's having.
And it's like the guys, every dude thinks that no woman would ever fake it with him. And that was the whole point of Meg Ryan's little, her little act in the movie. And I remember Billy Crystal just sitting there looking at her like, okay, I gotcha. I understand now. So anyway, moving on down my list, point 2. Fear of sexual rejection and ridicule for their lack of having an orgasm. This would be another reason why a woman would fake it. Because, the dudes want to say, well, you frigid, something's wrong with you. you not like my other women. They never had a problem with what I do and how I do it, and they would always come. And I'm thinking, no, nigga, that bitch was just a better faker than me. That's what that was. You just stupid. But you don't want to say that. You don't try to be hurting their little feelings. And then, the worst ones, though, are the ones who watch too much porn and expect you to be doing all that sheet grabbing and hair flipping around and, fake moans and groans and screams and shit like they do in the movies. And so if you don't do all of that, then he feels like you didn't, if there's a problem with you. He doesn't see where maybe you just can't fuck. The problem is you. But they don't look at that. They somehow, because you're not like those women in the movies, you're the problem. Number three, fear of the partner's reaction. If they told him that what he was doing really wasn't working for them, and they want something else, they prefer something else, a different kind of stroke, a different kind of lick, a different kind of touch, whatever, and they're afraid to say anything because of how he's going to handle it, which is not well. Most dudes don't handle criticism well when it comes to how they be laying that pipe. And some guys, just get really angry, and it could be a situation where you're in danger because his little ego is so offended by the fact that he didn't know, you said he didn't know what he was doing in bed. On the flip side of that are the guys who get sad and get the little hurt, pitiful puppy dog face, But in either case, both of them have their ego tied to your orgasm. That's essentially what that is. So, and then number four, women are very aware of keeping their man's ego, in high and in place, and they try to do that because they feel like they could, quote, emasculate him. Now, I've done a video on that. I don't think that that's possible. And if you can emasculate your man with a few words, well, then that means you have his nuts, not him, which means he's not really the man you are, in which case you got a problem. So, but anyway, this is the deal here. We want to try to avoid hurting their ego. And I can understand, you love the dude. You don't want to hurt his little feelings and tell him that his sex is whack. But if his sex is whack, you probably do need to tell him, and we'll talk about how in a minute. So if the sex is whack and you want to go do something else, you gonna fake it because you want to get the shit over with ASAP. You got the attitude like, nigga, you taking too long, get the fuck off me so I can go do, XYZ, because this shit is just wasting my time. And number six, maybe it's just a bad day. And no matter how turned on you were at first, when things first got rolling, you was into it. Well, now you're not. Whatever happened, maybe he said something, did something, you thought of something, the phone rang, somebody banged on the door. There's just a million different things that could happen that would just, flip the switch, and then where you were turned on, now you're turned off. And it's not going to happen, right? You just want to get to end. So you're going to fake the orgasm because once he feels like he brought you over the top, then he'll let himself go and then the shit can be over. Or maybe he's just taking too long. Your coochie's getting dry. It's not exciting no more. You just ready for the shit to be over. Again, you have to fake it so that he'll think that you've done, and then he'll come. And then it'll be all over, and then you can get up and go on about your business. Or number 8, to make him think that he's the greatest lover in the world. Now, a lot of women will do that because they're in a new relationship, right? And they want to feel like, they want the guy to pick them, rather. They want to secure some kind of relationship with this dude. And so by making him think that, the sex is so fabulous, they believe that would be some kind of way to keep him around and, get him to commit or something. I don't know, but I'm like, if dude ain't hitting it right, what the fuck you want to keep him around for? Get rid of that non-fucking motherfucker. I'm like, that just, I know women do it. Don't get me wrong, They want to get some kind of security. They want a husband. They want to move in with the dude and, have people paying bills. I suppose there could be some financial benefit to it. As well as companionship. I don't make it sound all materialistic, but the bottom line is the women are settling for something that is really not a good thing. Or number 9, the two of you are just out of sync. And this happens a lot. Okay, you got a long term relationship, and usually the sex is really good, right? This is just an off day, off night, whatever. This particular time, it's just not happening, and you tired of him trying, and you just you just ready for it to be ended, and you want to start scratch the next round. Sometimes it's something like you guys had an argument earlier in the day that it just hasn't really been resolved. There's some other kind of anger or resentment or feelings of abandonment or irritation. I mean, a lot of, emotion is caught up in that kind of stuff. And you haven't gotten past it yet. And, you just know that even though the sex life with this individual was normally, it's pretty good. It's on hit. But tonight, it's not. So you may fake it just so, again, you can get the shit over with and go on with your life. And this one lady says this was so funny. Now, keep in mind, these are comments from my Facebook page. She types up there, when he's not hitting it right, it feels like a seal twerking on her lady parts with no drawers on. And you just want him to stop because you're getting annoyed and grossed out. I thought I was going to die. I was laughing so hard. A seal twerking. And then the last reason why a woman would fake it. Because as soon as he thinks you've come, he will, and the shit will be over, and then he will get the fuck up out of your face. So as you see, most of the reasons had to do with making it be over so that the women could just go on with their life. And then, there were some other reasons as well. But in general, that's typically the reason. They just want it to be over. They're tired of him sweating on them, breathing, huffing, puffing his weight, dealing with him, looking at him, feeling him. They're just done. They don't, it's just next. Ready for the next activity. And this is, a lot of women feel this way, especially after they've been in long-term relationships, and the dudes, it could be, like I said, it could be just an off thing, or it could be a regular thing. But either way, this does happen. But then on the other hand, faking it brings its own set of problems, actually. So, if you build this dude up right with a false sense of his ability to lay down that pipe, basically what you're going to end up with is a dude who thinks he's like this major cocksman. And, his head's going to be all blown up artificially over some skills he thinks he got that he really doesn't. And for you ladies, it creates a problem. I mean, if you don't stay in a relationship with him, then of course it doesn't matter. It's like, bye with his non-fucking self and your orgasm faking. They can both, go away at the same time. But if you're in a long-term relationship with the dude, it's just going to make it more challenging later on when you try to get him to unlearn the tricks that you were rewarding him for with the fake orgasm in the early stages of the relationship. You see what I mean? It's it's going to come back to bite you in the ass. I guess that's basically what I'm trying to say. You was trying to make it, this stuff that he was doing that was really strange and weird, and really you didn't really groove on it. And, so you made him think it was all fabulous and wonderful. And now you're tired of that shit because that shit was irritating from the gate. But now you don't know what to do to get him to stop doing it. So you set a bad thing up there. So I'm not saying don't do it. I mean, that's on you. Like I said, none of us say here, I would say please don't do it. Give you reasons why not to do it. Give you some options to do something else. But I'll never command people to do anything. I'm not your mother. What I do is just kind of point out some of the downsides of some decisions that y'all make and tell you why those aren't necessarily the best decisions to make. But ultimately, if you want to fuck up your life, go ahead. It's not going to affect me. And then point number 2, that is, the second problem that you may bring is that some of these dudes, they get so arrogant when you tell, say you got to the point where you finally get sick of it, whatever his little technique was, you get sick of that shit, and you just blow up one day and tell him, that shit was never good, and he was never fucking you right. Well, can you imagine how he's gonna feel? So betrayed. But honey, trust me, that's what's gonna happen. It's almost impossible to keep your lips zipped forever. I mean, you could keep them zipped for a while because, you know, you can just go and handle things yourself or whatever you're going to do. But at some point in that long-term relationship, it's going to come out. Even if it comes out in the heat of anger, even if it comes out on the day that you sign a divorce papers, it's going to come out. So it's just something to think about. Something to think about, because his head's going to get all blown up and he's going to get all arrogant and stuff. And, some of these dudes get violent because they just feel so betrayed. So just keep that in mind. But, guys, really, I mean, with all this education and information out here about how to be a good lover, there's no excuse for you to be laying some bad pipe. I mean, you doing all that, see, you not even trying. There's free websites. I mean, the books are better to me because they have better content, but you can find stuff free online to read about how to be a better lover. I have some videos up here about how to be a better lover. But there's just no excuse to have poor communication and bad sexual habits that really don't bring your woman the sexual pleasure that she deserves to have. You should be able to tell by a woman's breathing, her expressions, her body temperature, her body movements, her heart rate, and everything. Like, you should be paying attention to her response to the different things that you do so that you can see what she's feeling about it as you try different things. This is especially good when a relationship is new. And it's the bottom line. I mean, women get together and we make jokes about how bad guys are in bed. That doesn't mean we don't still love you. Doesn't mean we don't want to sleep with you. But very rare is that the guy is really good, so the woman is consistently having a good time in bed with the man. It's very, very rare. And though these women, the guys want the ego boost of having, delivered all this pipe to those women, they like climbing on the ceiling and screaming and all this old stuff. If you've never read a book about female anatomy, you've never read a book about female sexuality, and you have some sad and sorry skills in bed, well, then you don't deserve the ego boost of a female orgasm, whether it's real or fake. You just don't deserve it because you haven't put in the work to make it happen. So for ladies, I think, as you first get into a relationship, dudes want to talk about, what positions you like and what kind of lingerie you wear and all that old crazy bullshit. What you guys need to be talking about before you move there is you need to ask him some pertinent questions to get an idea of how he communicates about sex. This is key. If you tell him, how do you think, how do you feel about taking lessons or instructions from women in bed? How do you feel about that? See what he says. Now, some guys, like the best lovers, are all for it. They down. They're curious about, what you want to do, how your body is all put together, how stuff works, and they're excited about, taking that journey with you. They're interested and excited, and their ears are open. They listening. And whatever you want to do, they down with it. Okay, those are the best. I've had a few of those in my life as I reminisce, but yes, those are the best. Then you get these guys that says, he knows everything there is to know, and he's got experience, and he's been fucking since he was 15, and he's gonna get all offended, or he's gonna start referring to women, from his past and kind of bragging about how he did certain things to them and what they said or whatever. Not understanding that women will lie just for the reasons I said above, to keep him in a relationship, but he hasn't connected them dots yet, so he's gonna be trying to, brag and all that. And sometimes it just pays just not to say anything. Just understand that that's not the man for you. Because his ears are closed. He already thinks he knows everything. He sees every woman's body as exactly the same. These are the kind of guys who have like their little movements, 10 seconds on each nipple, and then kiss her, and then 10 seconds down and kiss down the tummy, and then, this. I mean, they got like their little thing they do. They have like a track that they run, and it's the same steps, the same speed every single time. So that shit is boring. Or you may get the kind of dude, you tell him, how does he feel, ask him how does he feel about taking lessons or instructions from a woman. He may get defensive. He'll get guarded. Well, why are you asking me that? Well, it's not that, he's going to start getting like that. He's putting up walls and being guarded. And these are the kind who kind of take that, they hear criticism, and they're fearful of it. These are the kind that if you say anything like, I don't like that kind, let's do this, he's going to lose his boner. And that's his passive aggressive way of telling you that he doesn't like being criticized or given instructions. So basically, when you get started on a path where you're going to choose a new lover, you need to figure out what kind of guy you're dealing with and make your choice in partners accordingly so that you can stop faking. Come on now. You deserve to have some real back-breaking, toe-curling loving on a regular basis. But the only way that you're going to get that is if you have some open and clear communication about what works for your body, because every woman's body is different, and communicate that clearly in a non-blaming fashion. Because, you don't want to say, nigga, you can't fuck, blah, blah, blah. You just tell them what you prefer. I prefer this kind of touch to that kind of touch. I prefer this kind of stroke to that kind of stroke. I prefer this kind of touch here and there to this kind of touch here and there. And just, kind of give him a playbook so he knows what you like, and then he can kind of put it all together. He's a dude that's got some sexual experience. He'll know what to do with that information. You won't have to tell him too much more than that. So, bottom line, though, that is my thoughts on women who fake it, why they do it, and some ideas for how you can get past that and work with your guy. If you can, work with him and try to get yourself situated so that you have some sexual satisfaction and have you walking around here grinning like a Cheshire cat. I would think that would make life kind of grand, don't you? Deborah Cooper signing out. Find me on survivingdating.com or askheartbeat.com. I'll be back in a day or so with another video. Thanks for watching and be sure to subscribe. Bye-bye.